I'm Riko, and this is my AGDQ 2018 submission for Crash Bandicoot N Sane Trilogy, Crash won any percent. So the N Sane Trilogy is a remake of the first three Crash Bandicoot games that was released earlier this year in June. The games were built completely from the ground up. None of the original code was used. As a result, all three of the games run very differently from both their original counterparts, and they actually also run very differently between each other just due to different mechanics and designs in the games. Crash 1 in particular is very different from Crash 2 and Crash 3. It is a much simpler game. Crash's movement is restricted to spinning, attacking, or spinning, jumping, and running. So a lot of the speed in the game comes from corner cuts and other tricks. Well, one thing you may notice is that despite this being an any percent category, I am breaking as many boxes along the path as I can. This is because at the end of every level, you're greeted by a screen that says, "Great, but you missed X number of boxes." Unlike the original Crash 1, where you could get rid of this screen by death abusing, you cannot skip this screen in the N Sane Trilogy version of Crash 1. So it is beneficial to break as many crates on the main path as you can. You can speed up this screen at the end by holding X while the boxes are falling on Crash's head, like I will do right now. However, each box still amounts to about a sixth of a second, so it is still very beneficial to break crates that are, at the very least, along your path. You don't want to really go out of your way to break them, but any that are on the way are very much worth breaking. And then the other main movement tech, or movement boost, is the invincibility. So in the Crash Bandicoot series, there's this mask, Aku Aku, who's floating on the loading screen right now. And you can get him by breaking crates that have his face on them. And if you have one Aku Aku mask, he protects you from one hit. And if you have two Aku Aku masks, he protects you from two. And if you have three, like I just got right now, you are temporarily invincible. And not only does this let you get through obstacles much easier, it also boosts your movement speed by a significant amount. So in a lot of levels, it is very beneficial to get invincibility. And here, in this level of Jungle Rollers, I actually waited for the invincibility to end because the invincibility does not stack like in the original Crash 2 and Crash 3. If you break another Aku Aku crate while you are invincible, it doesn't reset, and you just waste the crate. So, and it is still much faster to wait on that crate as opposed to skipping it and doing the rest of the level without invincibility. Just the speed boost is that important. That was unintentionally getting stuck on the disc slider, so unfortunately, because I took that extra hit, I will be a little slower in the first portion of the next level, but as long as I get the second mask in that level, it should be fine. So, because the movement in Crash 1 is so much simpler than it is in Crash 2 and Crash 3, a lot of the optimization comes from using the invincibility, breaking as many boxes on the path as you can, cutting corners where it's possible. So the game becomes very interesting because of its simplicity, and it really tests your knowledge of where you can save time by doing really small things that add up altogether. So this level is a great gate. It's a side-scroller level. Ideally, I would have had invincibility right here, but I unfortunately took that extra hit in Jungle Rollers, so that won't be the case. It's only about a 2 to 3 second time loss for not having invincibility in this portion. So it's notable, but it's not gonna kill the run. This invincibility right here, however, is very important. So this invincibility is not only going to give me a speed boost, it's also going to let me run through all of these spikes that I would otherwise have to wait on. And it also lets me get through those islanders much quicker. They have shields in front of them that push you back. So this spike, for whatever reason, is very difficult to get around. I've never been able to get around, and I believe another runner, Kane of Pocky, said he's been able to get through it once. So yeah. So that's all the Great Gate. It's a very straightforward level. A lot of the early levels are very straightforward. And the goal in Crash 1 is much simpler than Crash 2 and Crash 3. There are no crystals you have to collect in every level. You just have to get from the start to the finish. And you do that in every level until you get to the final boss, Dr. Neocortex. Additionally, because Crash 1 runs on a linear island system for its levels, there's no diverging of paths like you can in Crash 2 and Crash 3, where there's the warp room with the 5 levels. Crash 1 is a straight line. You go from one level to the next. So this level is boulders, and we're going to be doing something really interesting in this level. We're going to break every single crate in the level, and this is because they're all on the path, so it's worth doing anyway. But also, if you break every crate in the level, but then you don't pick up the gem, you actually get the fastest end screen you can get, because it will say nearly perfect, but you missed the gem. And instead of boxes falling on Crash's head because you broke all of them, he'll just instead give you a dumbfounded look, and then the screen will finish. So because of this, you think it would be very beneficial to break every single crate in every level. However, it's actually only useful in boulders, because in most levels, there are either crates that aren't on the path, and it's not worth going out of your way to get them, or there are crates in the bonus rounds, which in the original Crash 1, bonus rounds didn't count for box completion. However, when they updated Crash 1 in the Sane Trilogy to be more in line with Crash 2 and Crash 3, they made it so that bonus rounds are now required. So a lot of levels have bonus rounds, and as a result, you will miss a lot of crates just because it's not worth going into the bonus rounds. And then the only other level where it would be useful to break every box is a level coming up towards the end of this island, which is Hog Wild. However, as of now, we don't know a way to break every box and also skip the gem. And if you grab the gem, you actually get a much longer end screen, because Crash will stand there for a few seconds. He'll pull the gem out of somewhere, he'll throw it up, and he'll make a little hooray. So it's never worth grabbing the gem over missing a couple crates. So this level's upstream. It's a pretty straightforward level, however, there will be a bit of a cycle skip at the beginning, so I'm going to line myself up to the right here and actually skip that box, which gives me enough time to make that jump right there from the leaf to the log. That's actually a bit of a tight jump to do if you actually go for that first box. So, and because you have to line yourself up to the right anyway, it's generally better to just skip that box so you can grab that cycle and save a couple seconds. One notable side effect of the boulders level is that I actually don't have any masks anymore. This wasn't the case in the original Crash 1, but in the Sane Trilogy, they made boulders function like the chase levels in Crash 2, where it takes your masks from you. So unfortunately, my mask got reset, so you can't use invincibility in upstream. However, I will be trying to save this mask to use it in the next level after the first boss. And the next level masks are extremely useful, so that's upstream. It's a very short level. A lot of the levels in Crash 1 are very linear, especially compared to 2 and 3. There aren't a lot of crazy curves or anything. It's a lot of straight lines, and this is just because the original Crash 1 was developed during an age before analog sticks on the PlayStation 1. So as a result, they just made a lot of levels that are straight just to make things easier. So we'll be entering our first boss. This is Papu Papu. He is a very easy boss. He'll swing his staff down at you and you just jump on his head. He's actually much quicker to hit in the Sane Trilogy because they removed any invincibility frames he had, and you can also just jump on him before he even attacks you. So in the original Crash 1, you would have to wait for him to get rid of his invincibility frames, but you can just jump on him immediately in this game. Also, I've noticed that in the original Crash 1, Papu Papu only had 3 hits. In this game, he had 5, which was actually carried over from the Japanese version of the original game. So right there, after you knock down Papu Papu, you can actually clip into him, and this saves a bit of time because at the end of the fight, Crash does what he just did there, where he jumps on Papu's belly to catapult himself out of the level. And if you clip into Papu, then Crash gets to him as quick as he possibly can because he's already right there. So it just saves a bit of time to just be right there and just get the immediate bounce. Alright, so now we'll be going into Rolling Stones. This is a level that is actually a little tricky to dodge through a lot of the obstacles while doing it quickly. And invincibility is also very, very useful in this level, and you're actually able to get it twice if everything goes well. So. Alright, so the next mask is coming up here. Alright, so this is the first invincibility. And this lets us just go through all of these rollers without getting hit. One thing I've noticed is that in the original games, if you ran into an obstacle that would normally hurt you, that you can't actually destroy, then Crash does this thing where he's just like, oh, and he jumps up as if he would have taken damage. In the Sane Trilogy, that doesn't happen, which is very useful because it makes a lot of these jumps a lot less precarious. And that's all of Rolling Stones. So that level goes by much better when you have the invincibility. If you're forced to wait on a lot of the cycles, then you can lose quite a bit of time, and also not having the speed boost of the invincibility also hurts. Alright, so the next level is Hog Wild. This will be the only level in the run where you ride a hog. It is kind of an auto-scroller and kind of not, because essentially you're forced to move forward, and generally you only move left and right and dodge obstacles. However, there is a technique where if you constantly jump, you go a little faster. Unfortunately, it messes up a cycle at the end that is already very hard to dodge, so it makes it a real pain to try and get over. So generally, I don't go for the jump, because dying at that last cycle loses like 25 seconds. And I have a way to consistently set it up. So I'm going to break every crate in this level except for one to make the ending screen as short as possible. And this is the level where I said breaking every crate would be beneficial, but we currently do not know a way to skip that gem. So, because it shows up right in front of the ending portal and you can't really dodge it. So in a sense, this level functions very similarly to how it does in the original Crash 1. Because in the original Crash 1, you also broke all but one crate, just because it wasn't fast enough to death abuse because of how long death animations are in this level. So I'm going to come up to some spinning hog obstacles. The first two are fine. The last one is very annoying and like infamously frustrating for new players. Thankfully, I have found a setup that makes it very consistent to get. So what happens is that, for whatever reason, that last hog has a very, very annoying hitbox on it. But I found that if you stay as close to the center of it as you can, then it's actually fairly easy to jump over. So I intentionally leave the last crate in the level because I use it to line myself up in the center. So the next level is another level that's infamous for being very difficult, especially if you're going fast. This level is the bane of many time trial runners. This is Native Fortress. It's a very long level and it is very cycle dependent. So things can go very wrong if you just get a poor cycle, or if something just messes up somewhere. You can lose so much time in this level just off of the tiniest things. This level was very infamous for its difficulty in original Crash 1 speedruns as well. I was very fortunate there because that fire actually has a hitbox that extends much farther than the animation, much farther up than the animation implies. So if the fire had started any sooner, which it can do sometimes, I would not have been able to jump over it. Like here, I had to wait out that fire because I would not have been able to jump over that, even if it looks like I might have been able to. The cycles in this level can be somewhat inconsistent. Thankfully, it's not a big time loss as far as I'm known. Usually, I don't have to wait on that first fire cycle, but I do have to wait on the second fire cycle. But in this case, it was reversed. I didn't have to wait on I did have to wait on the first one, but I didn't have to wait on the second one. So one little time save I've been doing on most of these, or I'm also going to damage abuse here. Oh, that didn't go well at all. I messed up that damage abuse. You're supposed to spin into the spike and then use the invincibility frames to spin into the TNT and detonate it while you're still invulnerable, but I messed it up. So I'm gonna grab that mask just because it'll be useful like 3 levels down the line. So, mask planning can extend to levels. Like, this mask that I grabbed in Native Fortress is gonna be useful in about 3 splits from now, up the creek and then Ripperoo in the Lost City, so yeah. So, I'm actually spinning on these torches. It makes it so you don't bounce off of them, which is just a bit of a time saver. There it didn't matter because I would have had to wait on these ones anyway, but it lets me get through those quicker. And I'm gonna wait this out because I didn't trust myself to get through that. I'm gonna wait this one out. The spin bouncing is really helpful here because it lets you get through all 3 of those torches without having to jump behind the fence. There's a little indent that's it's designed that you're supposed to jump behind that to get to the fence. Alright, so outside of the messed up damage abuse, that was actually a pretty decent Native Fortress. However, you can see by the splits that that one mistake is costing me quite a bit of time over my personal best. Or not my personal best, but like my best segment. So that's all of Island 1. However, to quote White Paws, the SGDQ Crash 1 runner from earlier this year, he likes to consider the first portion of Island 2 an extended Island 1 because these levels can all also be very annoying. And at higher levels, it's not uncommon to lose runs to these ones as well. So this is up the creek. This is the second river level. When it loads. So, yeah. So that first mask I got here, I'm going to try and not get hit or die throughout this entire level because having 2 masks will be very beneficial in the next level. I also jump when I go up slopes like that because for hills it saves a tiny bit of time, and then in the case of those moss covered hills they actually also force you down, so it's just faster to just jump up them. One thing of note regarding the breaking as many boxes on the path as you can, if you miss any box it is absolutely not worth going back for them. That's just wasting more time. So when I passed that stack of 2 crates, I missed the one on the top and I just kept going because it's not worth waiting for it. And there again, I missed the top crate of that stack, but it's not worth waiting for it. Alright, so that's up the creek. Our next level, well, our next split will be the second boss, Ripperoo. Ripperoo is a very annoying and tricky boss if you're like new to the fight. However, there is a very easy and consistent setup that makes him go by very quickly. You can do damage abuse strats in this fight that are similar to, or they're actually near identical to the ones in the original Crash 1, and it does save time in the fight itself, but it causes you to not have the 2 masks for the start of the next level, and I think ultimately it is more of a time save to have it in that level, so I'll just use this setup here. So eventually you have to have him be caught in the explosion of these big TNTs. And the timing is essentially like, you know which ones you want to hit him with, and then you jump when he does. And we're good. There is a glitch where sometimes, see here, Ripperoo is supposed to jump back to that front platform and then he falls off the waterfall. There is a glitch where sometimes Ripperoo doesn't bounce back there and then he just falls into the water and kind of just, I don't know, drowns. However, it's a very tight window to get and it saves a couple seconds, but nothing backbreaking. Alright, so this level is the Lost City. in both the original Crash 1 and the current Crash 1, it is a very infamous run killer of a level, because it is the only level in the entire run where I will actually be breaking every crate and grabbing the gem. Because in this level you get the green gem, and the green gem will let you skip the entirety of the second to last level, Castle Machinery, which is a very long level. So despite taking the extra time to do all of the Lost City, it pays off. What makes the Lost City especially annoying in the Sane Trilogy is color gems were the only gems that still maintained the whole you have to beat the entire level without dying mechanic. So this level essentially runs very similar to how it would in the original Crash 1. I have to get through the entire level and I can't die at all in it. But also, in the Insane Trilogy version of Crash 1, boxes in the bonus rounds now count for completion, and there are 2 bonus rounds in this level. So there are a lot more crates that need to be broken. Thankfully, if things go south and I do end up dying in the Lost City, there is a backup strat. You can do all of Castle Machinery, and there are some really neat skips in that level that do cut off a lot of time. But ultimately, as far as I know so far, it is still faster to do all of the Lost City. But it's not an automatic run killer if we die in this level. It's just very insignificant. Or very inconvenient, not insignificant. Right, so this opens up the first bonus portal. This jump is very annoying, but conveniently you can just jump on the wall right there. So this is the first bonus round. This one's not that bad. The TNTs will get that last crate for me. So yeah, that bonus round is not really the bad one. It's the next bonus round that can be very annoying. These bouncing lizards are very annoying. You can only spin them if they're airborne, and sometimes they push you back anyway, or force you to change direction. So this is the Tana bonus round. This one is very, very annoying and tricky to do quickly. So hopefully I'll get it good on the first try. It's very time consuming to actually bounce on these. Okay, I got it first try. Awesome. That trick is not overly difficult. It is a little tricky and requires some timing. There is a small window where you can bounce off of a crate even if you spin it. The physics for it are very odd and much less forgiving than they were in the original Crash games. In the original Crash 1, 2, and 3, that would have been a very trivial trick to do, but Sane Trilogy, the boxes don't have quite as much endurance. So, thankfully we got the gem in the Lost City, and that will pay off very much in the long run when we get to Castle Machinery, all the way at the end of the run. And I also managed to get through and preserve 2 masks, so the beginning of the next level, Temple Ruins, will go by pretty quickly. This level's got a couple of really neat corner cuts in them that save a little bit of time. They're not, I wouldn't say they're difficult corner cuts, but they're not, I wouldn't say they're easy. So, get this invincibility. And then, invincibility is useful because it lets me ram into that Cobra to break those 8 crates. And likewise, I'm going to do it here as well. Oh, and except it didn't break all of them, which was unfortunate. It also lets me run through those spikes. So, I'm going to spin that spider into those crates, and then that's the first corner cut. It lets me dodge those spears. So I'm actually going to do a damage boost right here. There's another mask coming up, but the invincibility for it isn't as useful. So it's faster to just jump through that fire. And there will be another corner cut coming up here. And that actually lets me get through this fire without having to damage abuse. This jump is a little annoying to do because of the depth perception, so I generally just wait it out and play it safe, and I messed it up and died anyway. That's unfortunate. Dying in Temple Ruins can be very unforgiving. Wow. Jumped too early. This is not a particularly great Temple Ruins. Yeah. This is not an easy level, though. This level is very tricky to go through quickly. There we go. At least that lined up very well. So I will wait this one until it's directly in front of me because of that. So let's see. So that last torch, I generally don't damage boost through it because ideally I have 2 masks at this point, and it's very useful to have invincibility at the beginning of the next level. Unfortunately, that won't be the case regardless. It happens sometimes. So yeah, that was a very unfortunate Temple Ruins. Crash 1 in general can be very, very unforgiving if you die at the wrong time, because as a whole, checkpoints are a bit rarer to be found in Crash 1 compared to Crash 2 and 3, and they even added quite a bit of extra checkpoints to the Sane Trilogy version of Crash 1. And even then, still, you can lose a lot of time just for dying at the wrong spot. Alright, so this level is Road to Nowhere. It's the first bridge level. Bridge levels are kind of infamous in Crash 1 now because some of the jumps are very annoying. Thankfully, Road to Nowhere is not that bad about it. It's its sister level on the third island, the High Road, that gets a lot of people upset. And rightfully so, the level is not easy. So I did a damage boost there. I wasn't intending it, but it's fine, honestly, because the next level is another boulder level, so I'm going to lose these masks at the end of it anyway. There, I did the damage abuse again. I was afraid I jumped a little early. So you can make that jump without the turtle, which is not the way it's supposed to be done, but it's quicker, but it's a lot scarier to do. So even without the invincibility at the beginning, that went fairly well. So the next level is Boulder Dash. It's the second chase level in the game. I won't be able to break every crate in this level like I did in the first boulders because there's a hidden area that you can't access without the purple gem. So, and it has crates in it, so I'll only get about half the crates in this level. So I leave that stack there because the boulder will get it for me, which is very nice of it. Yeah, there we go. That went pretty well. Alright, so the next level is Sunset Vista. This is probably the longest level in this run, along with Lost City, but Lost City is long just because of how much you have to do in the level, but as a pure level itself, Sunset Vista is the longest one. And it is known for being a rather tiring, somewhat difficult level. There are a bit of some neat cycle skips you can do. One of them is at the very beginning. If I start moving to the right immediately upon spawning, I can actually skip this first fire right here. Oh, I messed that up. I jumped way too early. Thankfully, I saved it by jumping onto the platform below it. Wait this out. So you can actually stand here and you won't get pushed out, and then you can just 3D abuse right there. So the 3D range is something that's a bit of a staple in the original 3 Crash games. The Sane Trilogy removed quite a bit of the 3D ranges that you could use. Thankfully, the 3D range in Sunset Vista was not one of them. Likewise in the Lost City, you can use it there as well. But there are plenty of levels where the 3D range is just gone. And there's like an invisible wall in the way that doesn't let you abuse it. So there's a checkpoint right there, but I'm actually going to skip it because if I go for it, I can't get this cycle right here. And the jump from this second to last platform into the next portion is possible. It's just very hard. I messed that up. I was trying to bounce off of the top of that stack onto the moving platform, but I missed it by a bit. Unfortunately, it caused me to miss this fire cycle as well. I'm actually going to attempt a damage boost here, yeah. There's another mask coming up, but the invincibility in that section is not particularly useful, so... I'm a little off-center, so I want to line myself back up. There we go. So I can't catch this next cycle, so while I wait on it, it's just beneficial to grab these 4 crates right here. And here's a neat little exploit that they added. You can actually jump behind this small gap, which makes this entire section trivial, which is nice because it's a very annoying section. These last set of spinning platforms can be a little annoying if they don't line up correctly. So far they've been doing alright. No, that one I'm not going to be able to make. This one's fine though. This one should be fine. Nope, I can't make that one either, and that's why they're annoying. Yeah, that was very unfortunate that that happened. I'm gonna get these front stack right there. It's not worth going for all 8 because it takes too long, but getting that first one, I believe, is worth it. So this level has a lot of crates you miss by virtue of it also has 2 bonus levels in it. So, and that's all of Sunset Vista, and that's all of Island 2. We'll be ending this island with the 3rd boss fight, Koala Kong. He's probably the worst boss fight in this game just because there's a lot of luck and randomness to how the fight plays out. So essentially what he's going to do is that he's going to throw giant pieces of rock or coal or whatever at you, and you have to dodge or destroy them. And then there's going to be one he throws at you that you can reflect back. But sometimes he throws it almost immediately, other times he takes his sweet time, and it's just a lot of randomness. Also, the minecarts, if they get in the way, they'll protect him from the attack, and then the cycle starts over for that hit point. So, there, I got a look. Like, he threw the rock pretty early, but I got unlucky, and there was a minecart in front of him, so. Oh, yep, he's taking his sweet time this time, and there's a minecart in the way, so, yeah. Sometimes if I get really fortunate and he throws it early and there's no minecart in the way, I can hit the rock back in a mid, like while it's flying through the air, which just saves time. So I'm going to stand on this TNT, because if he throws it early, he'll detonate the TNT early. Not the case today. And now there's 2 minecarts in the way, so sometimes that gets annoying. So yeah. This isn't the worst luck I've gotten in Koala Kong, but it's not particularly good luck either. As you can see from my PB compared to my best, I've lost as much as 8 seconds in this fight. Oh, that was good. He threw that much earlier than I thought he would. So, overall, it worked out in the end, I guess. Alright, so now on to Island 3. Island 3 is where the difficulty really starts to fluctuate. There are some levels that are really straightforward and some that are pretty difficult. Heavy Machinery, the first level, Island 3, is a pretty challenging level. It's another side-scroller. And it has a lot of enemies and obstacles in the path. Thankfully, this level is just filled to the brim with masks, so I might be able to get invincibility a few times here, if I'm lucky. Oh, nope. Usually that first one snipes into the second one. That wasn't the case today. I think it's the first time that's ever happened. Invincibility would have been nice here, but it's not the end of the world that I don't have it. Just have to actually jump for those crates as a result. Then you don't even have to take that platform, you can just drop down like that. The spike bots actually cannot be damaged at all, so I have to wait them out. That was a very generous cycle. Sometimes that steam activates like when I'm right next to it. So you can actually grab that crate and then fall down and just skip that staircase, which is really nice. Oh my god. I missed and then I was afraid I was going to get hit. They were very generous in adding a bunch of checkpoints into this version of the level. In the original Crash one, there was exactly 1 checkpoint in this level. So that yellow pad I jumped over is a bounce pad. It actually had about 10 crates up there, including an extra mask, but it's not worth going for if I already have the invincibility. It's a time waster. And the amount of time it takes to go up and grab them is not really compensated by the by the 10 crates. There's something similar actually in the very first level in Sanity Beach. That level has a forked path, and the path on the right has a crate bridge of 10 crates, but you have to actually wait for it to spawn, which takes long enough where it's actually still faster to go on the left path. So, that was Heavy Machinery. Taking the damage at the beginning was a little unfortunate, but it's not too terrible. So that was only about 2 seconds lost for not getting that first invincibility. That's not that bad. So the next level is Cortex Power. This level has some neat tricks to it in order to go through it as quickly as possible. There is one rather difficult jump that I'll judge as to whether or not I should go for it when I reach the cycle for it. It's a bit of a tight jump, but if you get it, you save about 3 seconds. So this level has electric fences, or like, they're kind of fences. They shoot like a jolt of electricity from their left to their right that you normally have to wait on, but they line up in a way where as long as I just wait on this one, I can get all of them. So I'm gonna skip this first mask because there's another mask coming down the line that I would much rather have. And if I were to get the first mask, it wouldn't run out by the time I reach the second one right here. Alright, so hopefully I make this cycle. Nope, doesn't look like I'm gonna make it. You can actually get onto that platform before it gets away, but it's a bit of a tight window. It's not a major time loss if I lose it for this level specifically though, but I wouldn't have invincibility for the next level. So. Yep, that's all Cortex Power. It's a really short level in any percent and not particularly difficult. The next level is Generator Room. I am not a big fan of this level. It's a really annoying one. This is another level where dying can be extremely unforgiving because it is very short on checkpoints. Thankfully, the enemies line up where you can just snipe them into that TNT. There's a lot of, like, precarious jumps in this level. And you go off screen quite a bit. So this invincibility is not super useful, but I don't think it's particularly that harmful either. It might lose time just because of the animation at the beginning, but overall it's not the worst. I'm going for a few diagonal jumps. I'm not going for as many as I could. They are a bit scary to me. I will try to go for this one though. Or I can just completely miss that platform somehow. Whew. Unfortunately, that means I won't have invincibility and toxic waste, which is a couple seconds lost. I'm not going to go for that diagonal again. Clearly it doesn't like me today, and I don't want to have a repeat of Temple Ruins. But yeah, there are more diagonals that you can go for that save about a second or two, but they can be very annoying, and dying in this level is very painful. So yeah, that one death cost me 12 seconds. That's actually a very generous time loss for Crash 1. There are some deaths that will take you like 20 seconds or more. Crash 1 is very unforgiving. It's very hard to be consistent at, so consistency is very key. So my average in this category is a 106, which is fairly consistent, to be honest. So this is Toxic Waste. It's actually, like, to a casual player, this level is very difficult, but it is the literal definition of a straightforward level. You go straight the entire time and bounce over these barrels. So now there are going to be some barrels that are bouncing like these ones. These ones are generally what trip up the newer players. They actually added a little hint to the Sane Trilogy that's super subtle, to the point that I didn't even notice it until I read about it. But if you look on the ground, there's these little indents or like dirt marks that tell you where the barrels are going to land. So if you are aware of them and you can see them, you can prepare for them and just like run right under them as a result. So that's the kind of hint I like. One that's not blatantly in your face telling you what to do, but if you catch eye of it, it's very helpful. So we'll be entering the 4th boss fight now, Pinstripe Potteroo. So the way this fight works is that he shoots his gun, and you have to stand behind his furniture to protect yourself. I actually let him go this one time, just because it speeds up. It's like it speeds up his 4th phase, which I'll explain when I get to the 4th phase. So in the first 3 phases, he's just blindly shooting, and then you hit him while he's on cooldown. So this 3rd phase, he's gonna go to the left, and his guns are gonna break down, and that's when you can hit him. If I had not waited during the 1st phase, then he would have started on the right, and then he would have shot from the right, shot from the center, and shot from the left, which just takes more time. And here I can just stand in front of the table and he won't hit me. Alright. Pretty straightforward fight, not very difficult at all. Right. So this is probably the single most infamous level in the game. This is the High Road. This is the level that has tripped up many, many new players and newcomers to the Sane Trilogy. This is the 2nd bridge level, and because of the slightly different physics from the original Crash 1 to the Sane Trilogy, a lot of these jumps are much harder to make, especially off of the turtles. So, thankfully I've learned which turtles you actually need and which ones you don't, so let's see how it goes. I'm gonna wait out this hog. But this is a very, very annoying level. Even I tripped this one up plenty of times. So I'm gonna abuse the rope there. And so yeah, the rope actually has a hitbox that you can stand on. It's not super reliable. It's a very thin and narrow hitbox, and because Crash's collision in this game is rounded as opposed to squared, it's very easy to slip off. So I only use it when I absolutely need it, which fortunately is only at the beginning of the level. I won't be using the rope at any point further. And the rest of these jumps can be made without the rope or the turtles, so thankfully, hopefully we're in the clear. Also, the turtles in this game have very odd hitboxes. Their neck and their tail extend out really far, which when they're upright is very annoying because you can get hit by them out of nowhere. But when they're upside down like that, it makes them much easier to reach than their model implies. Alright, so that was very solid. Deathless High Road. I've had a Deathless High Road like maybe 2 or 3 times, but they're definitely always welcomed, because that level is very annoying, and the hardest part of that level is honestly the beginning, and dying at the beginning of the High Road is such a time loss. In my PB, I died at the beginning and lost 18 seconds over it. It's a very cruel and unforgiving level. So the next level is Slippery Climb. This level is infamously one of the most difficult levels in the game. If you take your time with it, I don't think it's that bad. However, there are some very quick strats in this level that can be made use of. They are rather difficult to pull off, and I think when played optimally, this might actually be the hardest level in the game. I will attempt to do the quick strats, but if they start to go south, I might start taking it safer, just for the sake of time. Alright, so far they're going alright. Yep, that's actually a bit of a tight jump. You can make that, but... Alright, so let's try this again. I won't go for that this time. Just wait it out. birds have very odd hitboxes, which is very beneficial at times because it looks like I should miss them, but then I don't. These old guys are mostly a non-threat, but they can catch you up if you're caught off guard and they swing at you. So this level is also infamous for having exactly one checkpoint in it, which can be very brutal if you die. I have lost many runs to this level. Actually had a mental block to this level for quite a long time. So there actually is a trick right here where if you have a mask, you can damage boost off of that spike, and if you mash X quick enough, you can actually rocket up to the top of the level, stand on the scenery in the background, and then just walk all the way to the end of the level. It's called the hyper jump, I believe. It's very useful in time trials. It's technically viable in RTA speedruns, but it's very tricky to pull off just because the trick in and of itself is a little precise, and getting a mask to that point is very difficult just because you have to take it through the high road all the way from Toxic Waste, which itself only has one mask in it, and so you have to take it through the high road and you have to get all the way to the level and then like not die. Like I had the mask at the beginning of the level, so I could have tried it, but I got tripped up and died. So I can actually go for those crates, but it's a bit of an annoying strat to try and go for. I almost got hurt real bad by that bird. Thankfully I lined up with it. Alright, so aside from that one death at the beginning, that was a solid slippery climb, so I will take it. So I've had deaths in Temple Ruins, Generator Room, and Slippery Climb. Those are three very unforgiving levels to die in. So the fact that I'm less than a minute behind my PB with those deaths is really good, actually. So this is another level that overall is not difficult. The end portion of it gets a little tricky, and you can lose a lot of time if you die towards the end of it, just because you run out of checkpoints. So this is Lights Out. This is a dark level. In this level, Aku Aku acts as your lamp. There's Aku Aku crates riddled throughout the level, and each one replenishes his light source. Unfortunately, you can only have one Aku Aku in this level, so if you get hit, you are left in pitch black darkness. So these scythes can get rather annoying. Ooh, I was a little late to that and I almost missed it. That would have been very unfortunate. Alright. That one's solid. Alright, so this next level is Jaws of Darkness. Not only is this a very tricky level, it is also, incidentally, the last level in the run that has an Aku Aku crate in it. So, for the sake of safety, I would like to take at least one from Jaws of Darkness all the way to the end of the run. It's not mandatory, but it makes things a lot cleaner and a lot less risky, just because the last two boss fights can trip you up if you are not careful. Especially the final fight with Cortex. That fight is actually extremely tricky at times. So for that reason alone, I'm not going to damage abuse here. I'm gonna wait that spear out because I have to wait this fire out anyway. So you can jump through this one without it starting up again. So see if I can get some corner strats going. Alright, nice. Wow! The depth perception in this level can be very annoying sometimes. So I guess I'm not going to have masks for the rest of the run. That's unfortunate, and I hope the boss fights don't mess me up. What? Those platforms are a little glitchy sometimes. That was really annoying. If you jump onto them, sometimes they wait to actually move. Or I might have just been in the wrong position. Regardless, that was very annoying. So if I had had the mask here, I could have corner cut to damage boost off of that fire, but I died, so. But I will corner over here. The other odd thing about the fire hitbox is that they actually end a lot sooner than the animation implies. Overall, not the best Jaws of Darkness, but that is easily one of the hardest levels in the game, in my opinion. Also, this level has the most boxes in the game, so this end screen takes forever. So even with that, I'm only a little over a minute behind, which is not the worst. So this is Castle Machinery. This is the level we're going to skip because we got the green gem. This level, when you do it normally and you don't have the green gem, it's like a 2-minute level, not factoring in load times. So, and when you do have the green gem, when you don't factor in lives, it is a 20-second level. So it's very beneficial to grab the green gem to skip this level. It's also not a particularly easy level. It does have some cool tricks, but ultimately they don't save time compared to doing that. So we're at the second to last boss fight now. This is Dr. Nitrous Brio. He's not that difficult, but he can be annoying sometimes, so hopefully it all works out. So he's gonna throw beakers at you. The green ones create blobs that you have to squish, and then they'll squirt him in the face, and he'll take damage. The purple ones are just explosive that you have to dodge. So, the first one. You also don't want to get too close to him, otherwise he'll create an explosion around him, and it kills you. Although the range for it is a lot more generous than it was in the original game. Another thing I need to be very careful for is that there's a glitch where if you hit him at the exact same time twice, he might lock up, and then I have to restart the fight. Another runner, Ukog Monkey, actually lost a world record pace run to that glitch. Okay, that worked out. So I'm gonna get into this corner so I can run for my life because he's about to throw 6 of them. Yep, alright. So now this is the second phase of the fight. He's gonna drink his potions and he's gonna Hulk out. He does move obnoxiously slow in this phase, so you have to wait a long time to reach him, because if you jump too early, he'll kill you. Because you have to jump on his head, like that. And if you jump too early, you'll land on his chest, and that causes you to take damage, and I don't have masks, so I would die. Alright, so that worked out really well. Alright, so now we're on to the last true level of the game, which is the lab. This level is not that bad, but it is somewhat tricky. So, as a note, those two purple icons above at the top, that is a DLC level named Stormy Ascent that was added to the game as downloadable content. Stormy Ascent is a level that was removed from the original Crash one for being too difficult. It was discovered years later by hackers through GameShark. As an extra level, it's not necessary for any percent. It is required in the game's completion categories, which are all gems and 105%. So because all you get out of it is a gem and a relic, they aren't really necessary for any percent. So the level's skipped. It is a very cool level though, and I would definitely be up for doing it as a donation incentive, regardless of if I were to run Crash 1 or either of the other two, Crash 2 or Crash 3. It would just be a really neat bonus regardless, because the level in itself is very awesome. It might actually be my favorite level in the entire series. I'm gonna be standing on the wall right here because this platform is a little annoying. Alright, that went pretty alright. Alright. Now for the single hardest level in the entire game, the next level is the Great Hall. This is where runs come to die. So difficult that you just walk in and you're done. So the point of this level is that you come here when you have every clear gem, and which is essentially having every gem, because a lot of clear gems require having every colored gem, and that gives you the alternate 100% ending. But we don't do that in any percent, so the level's really short. Alright, so we're on to the final boss, Dr. Neocortex. This guy can actually be very annoying, especially if you don't have masks. His third phase is really tricky without masks, so hopefully it all works out. My trick for this level, or for this fight, for the third phase, is to stay as centered as possible, so I'm going to try my best to only move left and right, and not move up and down into the foreground or the background. That could mess up all of my timing. So the purple beams he fires at you go directly at you. The blue ones he shoots to the side and they kind of get in your way. The green ones you have to deflect back at him. So this is where the third phase gets really annoying. Because now he's going to shoot blue ones that alternate up and down. They're not fun. Okay, I got it. I just have to avoid this fourth phase where he's going to rapid fire. That was close. Alright, the last phase he's going to fire a green one at me, so we're good. And timing stops when I hit him, so time. That was actually a really solid run. 105.23 is, I believe, better than my average. And it's only a minute off of my PB. There were some pretty nasty deaths throughout that run, and many of the most unforgiving levels. You know, Slippery Climb, Jaws of Darkness, Generator Room, Temple Ruins. Those are some of the hardest levels and most unforgiving if you die. So this run turned out really well, and I'm very happy with it. So yeah, My PB in this game is a 104.07. When you remove load times, it is a 50.32. The world record is 102.13 by Shadow Lemons, and without loads, that is a 48.38. So it's about a 2-minute difference. The reason we do loadless in the Sane Trilogy is because each model of PS4 has different load times. I run on the PS4 Standard currently, which has the worst load times. The PS4 Pro saves about 3 minutes in loads, so if we were to not do loadless, then it would just be free world records for PS4 Pro users. I do plan on getting a PS4 Pro very soon, just because even if the better load times wouldn't make my run any better, it is just more convenient to not have to sit around on load screens as long. And for a marathon like GDQ, it would actually just be so much better to run on a PS4 Pro. So, really, the times that I would predict for GDQ would be about 3 minutes faster on a PS4 Pro, and I do fully intend on getting one, and I know several people going to AGDQ that also have PS4 Pros that they've told me they'd be willing to lend out. But anyway, that is Crash 1 any percent for Crash Bandicoot N Sane Trilogy. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you consider either this category or any of the other any percent categories for the N Sane Trilogy for AGDQ. They're all really cool. They're all very different from the original Crash games. And the N Sane Trilogy has had a lot of popularity from its announcement to its release. It is a very popular casual game currently. It has picked up a lot of speed as a speed game. A lot of people are playing it, grinding it out. Crash 1 in particular has a gigantic player base, so it would be really cool to see one of the games in the trilogy in a GDQ. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you consider it. I'm Riko, and thank you for watching.